Talisker 8-year-old versus Talisker 15, the 2020 versus the 2019 special editions. What are these like, and should you be chasing these at auction? Stay tuned for the Whiskey Whistle. Greetings, my whiskey people. Mark Kaufman here for Whisky Whistle on YouTube, sharing a little whiskey awesomeness from Winnipeg, the center of North America, bringing you a 2-up of Talisker from the Isle of Skye, 2 of the special releases, the 2020 8-year-old versus the 2019 15-year-old. Both of these cask strength, we're talking, 57.9% for the 8-year-old and 57.3% for the 15. Let's get those poured. Now, if you're not familiar, Talisker is an island distillery on the Isle of Skye in Scotland. And it is moderately, that's not really a good word, lightly, the lighter end of heavily peated. That sounds about right. It's peated at the lighter end of things, 16 to 22 ppm, kind of right behind Bowmore and right together with things like Ardmore for peatiness. Okay, that was the 15. The 8-year-old and the 15. There we go. I think I poured quite a bit of that 8. I better top up the 15. There. Quite the color differential. Let's look at the color first of all and see what that's like. Definitely a very light straw-like color for the 8-year-old and something a little bit deeper for the 15. There could be some color added to these. You know, they don't really say whether there is or there isn't. However, we should assume that probably there is a little bit of color added. There's also no mention of chill filtration on Diageo products. I don't think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, nothing about that. Natural cask strength. No mention about chill filtration. I would assume they aren't, but I wouldn't put it past a big conglomerate to chill filter it anyway, so that no matter how much ice you add to that, it's going to stay clear. The 15-year-old, a little bit darker, more like a 18 karat gold kind of color. And the 8-year-old, we have a Caribbean rum finish. Okay, so our first ever Caribbean rum cask finish. And then the 15-year-old, natural cask strength. This is just your standard Talisker. Probably ex-bourbon mature, but maybe some sherry content in there as well, given the color. But let's find out together, shall we? Let's get on to the legs, but first of all, remember to subscribe to Whiskey Whistle, hit that bell, ding ding, so you're notified of future Whiskey Whistles. And if you're enjoying the content here on Whiskey Whistle and you want to get involved and help out, keep the lights on, then why not check me out on Patreon or on buymeacoffee.com. So it's patreon.com/Whiskey Whistle. buymeacoffee.com/Whiskey Whistle and join the Whiskey Whistle crew. Get your name in the credits. Also get advanced viewing of future Whiskey Whistles, and you'll eventually earn your own Whiskey Whistle glass with enough support on those platforms. Great. So legs, right? All right. What do we see for legs? I see things happening with the 8-year-old first. The 15-year-old is beginning to show some legginess now. And I would put that to the cask content. So a little bit more cask, the cask effects, the effects of maturation is what I'm trying to say. So longer time in cask, we should have stronger legs. All right, they look good. We should have a nice mouthfeel. Very attractive legs, nice color. I like the fact that we have different shades here. Again, that's supporting that maybe there isn't color added, but they should tell you on the label, shouldn't they? All right, so we'll start with the 8-year-old. We'll go through the nose, the palate, the finish, neat, then with water. and then give it a Whiskey Whistle whiskey score. And then we'll check out the 15-year-old, go through the same process, give it a Whiskey Whistle whiskey score, and then we'll talk about the comparison of these two. All right, so the 8-year-old, the nose, super lemony, zesty, lots of peat on the nose actually. Not quite the Bruiser Isla style peat yet, but something getting up there. Very similar to the nose of Bowmore in terms of its peatiness. Lemon oil, lemon pith. A little bit of something like fennel and maybe even a little bit of dillweed on the nose. And there's a touch of sweetness in there as well. Let's check that out on the palate now. Cheers. This is really neat because, first of all, it's 8 years old. It's young. Secondly, it's cask strength. Those two things tell me that the palate should be very aggressive, very harsh. But really, it is quite sweet, palatable, very gentle for 57.8%. 57.9%. So you're almost at 60%, but it's acting more like about 48%. Very nice and sweet. That rum coming through a little bit on the palate, adding a good dollop of sweetness, sugary, slightly like it's like as if they added a cola ball to the Talisker. Very lemony, peppery, some good Talisker pepper there. Especially at the end of the palate, getting into the finish, that pepper really rushes and really makes your mouth kind of tingle. Zing! That's very nice. Really enjoyable, neat. Let's add some water. I'm going to add the Isla water here. And I'm going to put in a little bit more than I did before. We'll go with 15 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, essentially 1 milliliter. Whoops. And we'll give that a quick spin and a smell. Yeah, you get some licorice spice coming through. The fennel. Nice dry sauna cedar wood, pardon me. Much more herbal-esque. Let's let it settle down a minute. Ramped up sweetness. I don't really get the rum on the nose. I'm seeing that more on the palate than the nose here. Still very lemon dominated, a little bit of rye spice, like a rye bread, toasted rye bread coming through. It's dry, herbal, lemony. This type of nose is what you're getting here with Talisker 8. Let's get on to the palate. Cheers, folks. With water, as expected, much more sweetness. Something like a sweet rye bread dipped in a little bit of honey. That sweet rumminess coming through on the palate again, more so than neat. Still very herbal, still a rush of pepper and herbs at the end of the palate and leading into the finish. We have a peppery, enjoyably so, peppery finish. Sweet herbs. Not quite Ricola candy, but, you know, Ricola candy minus the mint. And when you smack your lips, you get that sense of the rum there. Whoa. Well, I'm really enjoying that. I think I need one more sip, though. Always need one more. Always need one more sip. Delicate, peppery. Peat. The peat is woven all throughout this dram. And it's there consistently, but it's kind of, it's like the conduit through which the pepper really comes through. Very enjoyable. All right, well, it's that time. Let's get on to the Whiskey Whistle Whiskey Score for Talisker 8-year-old. What is that going to be, folks? It's going to be 90 out of 100. You heard it, 90 out of 100 is the Whiskey Whistle Whiskey Score for Talisker 8. Needs a malt hug for sure. And I'll blow it a little kiss. Very enjoyable. These special releases, they're a little pricey. They're a little hard to come by. I personally especially like grabbing Talisker. And if they have Glen Ord, I like grabbing those two. The 8-year-old Talisker is always a good value, I think. The price is not much more than Talisker 10. You know, like maybe 1.5 times as much. So about 150 bucks, maybe a little less, 130, in and around that range. But really good value. 90 points, well deserved, great stuff. Well, let's segue over to Talisker 15. Gonna try this tonight. Tonight, in the days before, whenever I finally get this edited, with the Winnipeg Whiskey Club. Again, a nice dark color. And a lot of stuff in here as well, supporting that this may not be chill filtered at all. So I see some nice filaments and things in there. Excuse me. And if that's the case, they should really tell people that, because that would be a good selling point. All right, let's get on to the nose. What is this nose? This is very different. Much sweeter. The pepper, a little bit toned down. The peat is still there. We've got some kind of caramel, toffee sweetness going on. It's very warming. All right, so here is the rub here. This is matured, fully matured in freshly charred American oak hogsheads. So that tells me that it's rechar. Otherwise, they would say it's virgin oak. And if it were virgin oak, it'd be much darker than this. So it's a rechar, heavily charred rechar. Matured in freshly charred American oak hogsheads. Okay, so that's interesting to know. And it's bringing forth some baking spice alongside these typical Talisker flavors, the pepperiness. The lemon is still there. It's kind of in the background, though. Wow. The palate is super sweet. Lots of baking spice. The nice Talisker pepper there. It's like pepper cake. In Belgium and Holland, you can get pepper cake. I don't know. I forget the name of it now. Whatever it is. Pepper cake. Anyway, so you get some nice pepper cake, sweet pepper cake, with a little bit of dark brown sugar, some nice spice in there. You can hear my dog upstairs. It reminds me of a certain Danish breakfast. You take rye bread, rugbrød, that's hard to say, rugbrød, rye bread, and maybe it's a day old or a couple days old, and you cut it into cubes, and you serve that with hot milk and sprinkle it with sugar. It's kind of like oatmeal, but made with rye bread cubes. Lots of spice, lots of sweetness. The pepper really jumps at you at the end of the palate into the finish. But here you've still got that nice sweet kind of grainy dessert carrying right through the finish. Very nice. We're going to add 15 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 drops of water. Okay. Let's give it a quick shake and a little smell. More of the toasty rye dessert breakfast food coming out there. More spice, cinnamon, a little touch of clove, lots of ginger, and some nice pepper. A lot more baking spice up front. Still reminds me of that Danish breakfast food made with dark rye bread. There's a creaminess to it as well. It's got some good sweetness. Dark toffee. Almost like cinnamon hearts, but not quite that cinnamony. The palate with water. Much more herbal, much more spice, a touch more sweetness as well. It's a pretty enjoyable Talisker. I'm glad to hear that they experiment like that with casks. I do want to add a tad more water because I really think it's going to bring out that that sweet, grainy bakery treat on the nose and on the palate. Let's see if I'm right. More herbal, more spice. A little bit more clove now. Some cardamom coming through. We still have lots of ginger here. Funnily, more pepper. And yet more of that rye bread flavor as well. And that's just like the peat mixed with the cask coming off, to me, like Danish rye bread. And the finish here, sweet, spicy, peppery, baking spice, full-on cinnamon, peppery pepper cake on the finish, and a very long, peaty, peppery, delicious finish. Final sip. As expected, you got more tannins, more dry tannins working here for that extra 7 years plus in a rechar cask. So pretty interesting. But let's get into the Whisky Whistle whiskey score for Talisker 15 2019 edition. What is that going to be, folks? It's going to be 93 out of 100. You heard it, 93 out of 100 is the Whisky Whistle whiskey score for Talisker 15 2019 edition. Definitely needs a malt hug. And a malt kiss. Mwah. Very nice. Now, I paid quite a lot for that. I bought that in Korea, and I think I paid about 170,000 won, which at the time would have been 200, I don't know, 210,000. No. $200, $210. There we go. There's my math. $210. So a little bit pricey. It is cask strength, so that helps a lot. But a tad pricey, in my opinion. 93 points as well. You know, $200 is a little pricey for that. So, comparing the two of these, much more youthful. Now that I've had the 15, I go back to the 8-year-old, and I do smell a lot more young, almost like new makey type of spirit coming through. More peat as well. Decidedly rummy on the palate. The 15. Big baking spice. Much more finesse. More well-rounded. It's been in the cask for the right amount of time. Well, not much left of these, but there's one thing I'd like to do, and that is to pour them together. So I've got a blend of 8-year-old and 15-year-old Talisker. It's still Talisker. It's still technically an 8-year-old. And let's see how this smells and tastes. It still smells young. And I think for NAS whiskeys, this is always an issue, is that the young whiskey will still smell young. So you can't go too young. And the older whiskeys, if you're only putting in a little bit, it really just rounds it out. It doesn't really come off as an old whiskey. I think you'd need about 80% 15 and 20% 8-year-old to have its age really sort of show through that vatting of two different casks. Still lots of rum going on there, but it's a little bit more, for lack of a better word, it's more well-rounded. It's more well-balanced. The sweet, the youth, the age. It's got a little bit more peat too, which is working in its favor here. It's enjoyable, but a little bit confusing. I think I prefer them separate versus the combination of the two. But that was a fun experiment. And I hope you enjoyed that. And again, my name is Mark. You're watching Whisky Whistle. Thanks for watching. If you've tried both of these, please let me know your thoughts in a comment. Which Talisker are you hoping to see in the future? The young, the old? I'd also like to know what you think about what the best Talisker age is. Oh, I've also got something interesting here. Should I pour this too? I think I should. This is from my buddy Nate over in Korea. How you doing, buddy? Talisker 20-year-old, 1981, 62% natural sherry. Should we pour a little bit of that? I think we should. I think we should. So I'll pour a little taste of this one. That's a good taste. And I've had this before. There is a little video, a live video from his place in Korea sometime around 2017, I think, or early 2018. So Talisker 20, 62%, 62% in sherry casks. It's a different era of whiskey. Whiskey doesn't smell like this anymore. This was bottled in 2001, so that's a long time ago. So the whiskey base rating for this is 93. Lots of high scores here. The auction value of this, wow, 2,000 pounds. And that was a while ago. Oh, and I guess it got 95 points from Jim Murray that year. And his comment for this, and I know some people think that you probably shouldn't even talk about Jim Murray anymore. I'm not into cancel culture, so I'll mention this because he is a prominent whiskey figure. Jim Murray says, "Miss this and your life will be incomplete. Simply stunning." Well, all right. Lots of old sherry on the nose. The nose is a little bit tight. It's a dry nose. We've got a drier sherry. And those are working well together. I can still smell the pepper. This would probably take a bit of time to really come into its own, but let's give it a taste. Cheers. Cheers, Nate. Really sumptuous, delicate. The sherry is warming and sweet, not overly sweet though. It reminds me of Cabell and Sherry Solist with age and a bit of peat. And better sherry casks too. I mean, the casks that they had in 1981, which was a terrible period of time for whiskey. So casks were plentiful, and distillers did their best to make things that people want to buy because of how good they taste, not how fancy the packaging was. Dry, sweet, soft, pepper. I'm just going to add 5 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 drops of water. And let's see what happens here. It's bringing the sherry out. This is an interesting sherry that's a little bit herbal, minty, but a very nice cask. My nose is saying it's probably a dry cask, but it had interacted with sherry for a good long while. So reassembled And it may have had a bit of Talisker first for a few years, and then for 20 years had this in the same cask. So it may have been a second fill sherry. The water is bringing out sweet cream butter on like some kind of nice French bread with a little bit of strawberry and raspberry jam added on it. The peat and the pepper just really add a nice bit of complexity here. The finish is very jammy, sweet, clean, super clean, excellent Talisker. Let's add a little bit more water. I'm going to try 5 more drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm doing this for you and for me to see how I can best enjoy the remaining ounce that I have left here. And what a night that was. With Nathan and his friends at his place at the live stream. It's a bit dark. We didn't have good lighting, but we had some great conversation and some wonderful drams. Much more sweet, much sweeter. Sweet, soft strawberry. Delicious berries. That touch of pepper. 20 years old for Talisker, I think, is an ideal year to make next level whiskey. We saw 8-year-old. It was good, very good, in fact. 15-year-old, decidedly more enjoyment for me, and then 20-year-old. It's like yet another level of whiskey. The finish here is crazy long, and as time passes, the sweet sherry, strawberry-like flavors begin to increase after about a minute in your mouth. It's a beautiful, almost ethereal type of a spirit that, when sipped, takes you to a different place in your mind. And it's super light and yet super flavorful. Incredibly long-lasting for its finish. And breathing after I taste this, I'm getting more and more flavor. And it sounds like a really bad 1980s cigarette commercial, doesn't it? All right, final sip here. I'll just take a little sip of this. Delicious. So, the Whisky Whistle whiskey score for Talisker 20 from 1981, bottled in 2002. That's going to be 97 out of 100 for Whisky Whistle. 97 points. I don't think I'll do a separate review for this one because it's a sample. It belongs in a little side-by-side like this. But 97 points. Beautiful whiskey. Tied for my number one. A little bit more. Whoa! Almost mayhem. I want to add this to my Talisker. So now I've got a really special Talisker going on here. And in fact, I want to make sure I get all of that 20-year-old out of the glass. There we go. Okay, so I'm expecting this 20-year-old, like 3 milliliters, to play a dominant role here in this concoction. The 8-year-old is still kind of like the age, and yet it's like every single door in your mouth, like if your mouth were a room of doors, every door has been opened. There's an interesting old school, I don't want to say toothpaste sounds bad, but they're just the classic light mint, the kind that you might have dipped your toothbrush into. And in Korea, it's a salt. You dip your toothbrush in the salt, and yet there's a mintiness to it. So there's a minerality here. The palate, however, totally dominated by that 20-year-old, with just 3 drops into this 15 milliliters of whiskey. 3 milliliters. So like 1/5 was Talisker 20. You still get the rum, you still get the spice from Talisker 15, but then you're getting this uplift of sherry and age and yumminess coming through here. And I guarantee you 2 more drops and I will reach near perfection for something that would be, let's say, probably $250 or $300 a bottle for this particular Talisker. Now the 8-year-old has, like, the youthfulness has really dissipated. It doesn't smell any younger than about 12 or 13 years old. Much more influence on the nose with the sherry. In fact, it's really totally dominated it. Don't want to spill any. This would be unreal. This would be the darling of the special releases if Talisker took a little bit of 20 or 30-year-old sherry cask Talisker, let's say 1 barrel, and 3 barrels of Talisker 8. It could be Caribbean rum, it could be just straight ex-bourbon, and then 2 barrels of Talisker 15 in these particular rechar, heavily charred American oak barrels. It's perfection. It's not as good as the 20, for sure not, but it's like 94, 95 points. Delicious. Oh, I need one more sip of this. Oh my goodness. Oh. It's magic. Oh boy. My mind is blown. So anyway, time to wrap things up. Talisker 8-year-old. It's great. I think that, you know, if you're getting it at secondary markets or in auction, you're going to pay a lot for it. I think you'd be better off at trying to grab a 15-year-old. Obviously, this 20-year-old, if you've got the bucks, probably about $5,000, $6,000 now. I mean, it's practically a perfect whiskey. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed that. Let me know your thoughts on the 8-year-old 2020, pardon me, or the 2021, the 15-year-old from 2019, 20-year-old Talisker if you've tried. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and really happy that you joined this. Really happy that you came and experienced this little moment in time with me. Again, my name is Mark Kaufman, and I will see you for the next one. Goodbye now.